Hello lovely ones, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be making a rabbit pie filling. Rabbit's a really versatile meat. It's a white meat, so you can use it in place of chicken. Now, I'm not going to tell you it tastes like chicken because it doesn't, it tastes like rabbit. But it does have the same texture. There's a few steps that you need to do to kind of tenderize the meat. So if you get wild rabbit like we do, you need to soak it overnight in salty water, or some people soak it in milk. This helps to get rid of the, for want of a better word, pissy taste that rabbit can quite often have. So the rabbit that I have has been soaked, and I've jointed it up as well, so I need to strip that off the bone. I also need to sweat the vegetables down, so we're going to do that. I've already made stock with rabbit bones from the carcasses, so I'm ahead of the game there. Anyway, let's get started. So as I mentioned already, I've jointed up the rabbit and it's sitting here. But I'm going to leave that just now and get on with the vegetables because they can be sweating down whilst I am taking the meat off the bone. So I'm just going to peel these carrots and give them a rough chop. Now you don't need to peel the carrots, but they're looking a little bit worse for wear, so I'm going to peel them. But it's not entirely necessary. Now I'm going to dice my vegetable fairly small because it's part of pie filling and I want to make the smaller individual pies, so this just means that everything's going to fit in a lot nicer. As you can see, my knife skills aren't that great, but we'll live. Next up, I'm going to chop up my celery. Now if you don't like celery, by all means leave this out. I'm just trying to get as much veg into this as I possibly can. So I'm going to use this whole head of celery. I was actually lucky enough to get one of the Too Good To Go boxes at a Lidl this week. And it was a really big box, which made me very happy, and it was all full of organic vegetables. So I am working my way through this box of veg. You know, all the stuff is still really good. Next up, I'm going to pop in some leeks. Don't know about you, but again, I really like leeks in hearty dishes like this. And there's just something really nice about it. not going to be too pernickety about chopping these up because they kind of melt into things anyway. I'm going to put a couple of onions in too, just for depth of flavour. So these were in the Too Good To Go box as well. So we're doing quite well out of this box. Have you ever had any of the Too Good To Go boxes? And if you have, what have you thought about what you got in them? You know, did you find a good value, or did you think, nah, it's not really something you'd go for again? I've been wanting to get one for ages, and it just so happened that the one that I saw had loads of stuff that I wanted and needed in it. This one actually had half a dozen organic avocados in there. So I've cut them in half and scooped them out and frozen them, ready to be used at another time. So it's definitely worth the money alone just for the avocados. And let me tell you, they're perfectly ripe, not a brown spot on them at all. So I'm breaking out the great big cast iron frying pan because this is a huge batch that we're doing. I'm going to start by heating this up. Oh, that's the wrong hob. And putting a good amount of olive oil in here because we've got a lot of veggies and there's more to come because we know you want more. So let's get that oil in there. And we're just going to let that heat up a little bit. Now that the pan's heated up, I'm going to get these veggies in. Gently pour them in. And you can see now why I needed this big pan. Whilst I want them to sweat down, I don't want them sweating as such. I want them to cook down, and having them all in a smaller pan just means it's going to take a lot longer. Yes, it takes a wee while longer to heat the big pan, but you get a better result, I think. So using an appropriate sized pan really helps. I'm going to add a little bit of salt, and what this does is it draws the moisture out from the vegetables, so it actually stops them from burning. So we'll leave that like that, and we'll go back across to the chopping board because we have more chopping to do. So also in amongst this Too Good To Go box was a couple of packs of microwavable baby potatoes, but I'm not going to microwave them. I'm just going to chop them up small and put them in with the other vegetables. Now, the reason for doing this is twofold. One, it bulks out the pie filling, but two, it will also help to thicken the stock and make a really nice thick sauce. If I can get into the bag. So, back to the chopping board. I'll put a separate board down just because I'm going to be cutting meat up. We are moving on to the rabbit. So this is the really finicky part, and it does take a little while. But it gives you a good knowledge in anatomy. You really do get to learn where all the tendons are and where to cut. So by the time you're finished doing an animal, or a few in the case of the rabbits, you know, it you know it quite well. I'm just trying to think, I think there must be the front and back legs of about 5 or 6 rabbits here. I took the back steaks off these rabbits the other day and made rabbit tenders with them and sort of shallow fried them. I coated them in panko breadcrumbs and the girls absolutely loved them. Thomas, well, he's just going through his fussy stage at the minute, but I'm sure he'll come round to them. So this does take a wee while to do, but you know, you do get quite a lot of meat off of them, especially these back legs. So don't worry about making it too pretty, because it's going to get diced off anyway. Just get as much as you can off these bones. And don't worry if they're not too clean. It's always good to get bones as clean as possible, but when you start, just take your time doing it. You know, there's that's a rabbit thigh, so you get about as much meat as you would off a chicken thigh, maybe slightly less, but still a good amount. You can see the front legs are a different shape and they are more finicky again. So you've got the scapula in there, which makes it really, really awkward. But we will just work our way along and take what we can off of here. And if it's not that much, well, we'll just do what we can. So it's about 5 million years later and I've finally finished chopping all the rabbit up. So I'm going to get the vegetables out of here and start browning this rabbit off. Okay, so I'm going to put some more oil in the pan here. I'll just let that heat up for a second. So here I have the diced up rabbit meat and it's all good to go, so let's get this in the pan. I'm going to season it as it cooks, so it's always good to season as you go. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to add some corn flour to it. This will help the rabbit to brown really well and make it a little bit crispy, but it will also help to thicken the sauce. Now you could do this with plain flour if you wanted to, but I just find corn flour is a little bit lighter. And the thing that I find with rabbit meat is you do need to fry it off quite hard. So I'll be here for a wee bit, just making sure this is cooked through. So that's the rabbit cooked down. I'm going to put that in the pot here, and then we will get the stock poured in. Here is the rabbit stock that I made the other day with the rabbit carcasses. I just boiled them up in a pot of water and a bit of salt. It's as easy as that, really. So this jug is about 3 litres, so I've probably got about 2.5 litres worth of stock there. Let's see if I can do this without spilling all over the floor. Now, if you don't have rabbit stock, that's absolutely okay. You can just use chicken stock. This is beautiful and jelly-like, which is exactly what I wanted. So now that we've got the stock in, we can put the heat on. And I'm going to put this on about a medium heat. Just give it a nice stir together, and I'm going to leave this to blip away for the next couple of hours, so that the sauce gets lovely and thick. Now, you might have noticed me scraping the frying pan out, partially to clean it and make it easier to wash up, but also to get all that lovely flavour into here. It will help to colour the sauce, and it will also help to thicken because you've got that corn flour in there. Now, you could add any herbs or seasonings that you like into this. I am going to keep it fairly plain, just because I can add other things with the meal once I've made the pie. And you know, I'm all for big flavours, but sometimes it's nice to just keep it simple. So as I said, I'm going to keep this on the hob for a couple of hours, and then I will come back to it. So the pie filling has been cooking down now for about an hour and a half. You can see the liquid has reduced a bit, but it's just not quite thick enough. When you have a pie, you want a nice thick gravy with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a slurry. No, not that kind of slurry for the farmers out there. This is a mixture of corn flour and cold water. So I've got about 2 tablespoons of corn flour in here and just enough water to make it sort of a runny mixture. And I'm just going to pour this in, and it should pretty instantly thicken the sauce up and turn it into a gravy. And yeah, that is thickening that up beautifully. I don't know if you guys can hear, the dog's obviously got his stilettos on. There's a click clacking along the floor there. That will thicken more as it cools. I know it's hot right now, so it is a lot runnier. So I'm just going to give this a taste now and see if I think it needs anything extra. Just a touch more salt, and then I think I'm also going to put some pepper in. Not too much pepper because I want the kids to eat it. To be quite frank, I would smother things with pepper, but only a little bit of salt. I don't want too much more. That's really nice and sweet actually. The sweetness from cooking the vegetables down. I'll grab the pepper. And I'm glad that I didn't add any herbs to that. I really don't think it needs it. This. And does anybody have any good recommendations for a decent pepper grinder? I've been after one with like a ceramic grinder because I don't like the idea of grinding with the plastic grinder. Just the thought of that is not nice. So there we go. I'm going to turn this off now and let that cool, and I will come back tomorrow and get the pies made. So into my food processor, I'm going to put 2.5 cups of plain or all-purpose flour. If you want to weigh this out, it's 213 grams. Then I'm going to roughly chop up some very cold butter. This was warm, but I popped it in the freezer there for about 5 minutes and it's firmed up really nicely. So you can be really nice and neat with this. I am not that person. I'm just going to roughly chop this up and fire it in. Still a little bit soft, but it's okay. It's not as soft as it was. So this butter is 225 grams. There we are. I'm going to add in roughly half a teaspoon of salt, so a reasonable pinch. And then the same of sugar. So there we are. So then I'm just going to pop the lid on and blitz this up until it is resembling breadcrumbs. Next thing we're going to do is just add a bit of ice cold water. Again, I've had this jug in the freezer for about 5 minutes. It was very cold coming out the tap, but I wanted to chill it down. So the recipe that I'm using calls for about 7 teaspoons, but I'm just going to now that we've mixed the pastry dough, I'm going to tip this out and just bring it together. Take the blade out. just going to gently bring this together. I know I've probably overworked this at this point, so I'm trying not to do too much more to it. And I'm going to grab a beeswax wrap. And we're going to wrap it up in here and pop it in the fridge for half an hour to rest. Now we come to the fun part. The pastry dough has had a chance to rest and chill in the fridge. So this is where it gets fun. Now, when I put this pastry in the fridge to chill, I brought out my puff pastry. Yes, it's shop bought because life is just too short. But I brought this out to come to room temperature because it's a nightmare to work with if you don't let it come to room temperature. But I'm just going to put a little bit of flour on top here. And grab my rolling pin. And see how we get on. I've got these foil pie trays, got them off of Amazon a wee while back. They're a perfect size for an individual portion. We're not actually going to be eating these pies at the minute, they're going to go in the freezer just for simple meals to have on hand for those nights where we need something. So I'm going to go and just cut around. Now, don't worry if there's any tears in there, we can fix that very easily. Just put your pastry in. Squish it down a bit. I'm just going to take a little bit of this and push that in. So don't worry if there's any gaps in there. I know it's not the prettiest looking, but it will work. All lined with the short crust pastry. I have the rabbit pie filling just here, so you can see that's set up. I actually made a family size rabbit pie for our dinner last night, so I've used about a third, or just under a third of that. So we'll see how much we get used filling these pies up. You want to fill these, quite generously. So to make the lid, I'm just going to take one of these trays and pop it on top. And cut it to size. Using a little bit of egg wash, I'm going to lightly brush around the edge of the short crust pastry. And this is just going to glue the two pastries together. You don't need loads of it. Then we're just going to place the lids on top, just like that. And grab a fork and push down. Well, it doesn't matter if it's not entirely even. These are homemade. There's beauty in imperfection. I'm just going to put a hole in each pie, and that will allow any steam to escape when it's cooking. And the final step is just a quick egg wash. I don't know if you guys have watched any sort of commercial pastry videos. They have that egg wash in like a spray gun. It looks so cool. I know I'm a bit of a nerd and I do love a good kitchen gadget, but I think that would be so handy. So I have 13 individual rabbit and vegetable pies. These will make a really handy dinner for nights where I really don't want to think about what I'm doing, or if one of the kids is really hungry and wants something, they can go and grab it out the freezer. So I'm going to go and visit the village of the Damned, otherwise known as the shed where the deep freeze is, and put these in, and once they're frozen I will then bag them up with a label on the bag so that we know what they are, and then they're ready for use. To cook them, I would cook them at 180 degrees, probably 30 to 35 minutes. Just keep an eye on it and see, because you guys know every oven's different, so yeah, I'd say 30 to 35 minutes. But if you're concerned that the top is browning too much, you can always cover it with a bit of tin foil. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video and coming along and watching me make these rabbit and vegetable pies. If you have enjoyed this video, I would be ever so grateful if you would hit the subscribe button so you'll be notified when the next video is out. Until next time, my lovelies, take care.